Hi, my name is Sonia Belfield. I am a clinical and lab instructor here at the university. I'm here to talk to you about clickers, the student response system that you may have seen in some of the classrooms here on campus. First, let me give you a little background of myself. I have been a nurse for about 12 years and just became a nurse educator within the last couple of years. I have realized that interaction with my students have been the best ways that my nursing students have learned. Pretty much standing at a lectern is not something that they really appreciate, especially in clinical. The lab portion, I do have to do a lot of instruction with the clinical skills and some of the critical thinking pieces, some of the case scenarios. And it's very important that you find a way that you can interact with them so that you can see whether or not they are getting the concepts. I have learned as when I was a nursing student, I remember the experiences when the nursing instructor was able to allow us to apply the information that we learned. So I find right now that I try to implement that as much as I can so that the students get the best learning experience. I often wonder whether or not I am teaching effectively, and that's the main thing you want to concentrate on, the ability to teach effectively so that students do learn the concepts and the objectives that you have set out for the course, and that they are able to use that information to go out into the real world. Uh, so the clickers, this little device here, I do have one. This is my own personal little clicker that I have. You will see them in all different kinds of shapes and sizes and with different kinds of systems. Whatever that the university offers, it'll be great. So don't worry about whatever system they have. The main thing is that you formulate a set of questions, case scenarios, other little different vignettes so that your students can interact within the classroom. The purpose of a clicker is to help increase student interaction and discussion. The interaction piece will help the students get to know each other, help you get to know the students, and also the discussion piece is very important. It's imperative that you as an instructor know that the students are learning the material and are able to discuss the different concepts or different facts or the different methods that you have relayed in the classrooms before. The faculty are able to gauge the level of learning with the clickers. So if you ask them a question and you have them answer the question, you can see whether or not they were able to obtain the information or get the concepts that you were trying to get across. It provides immediate feedback for you and the students to see what their peers are thinking about, and so you can also see what they are thinking about. It encourages the understanding of the fundamental concepts that you're trying to relay, and then you can identify any knowledge gaps or misconceptions as a faculty member. So how do clickers actually help? They can help with pre-assessment. You can start using it at the beginning, like right at the beginning of your class, the beginning of the semester. You can ask them a number of questions and see what they already know about the course content. You can also measure students' attitudes. If there's a certain topic that's going on, a certain story that pertains to your content, that you can ask them to basically poll them to get information from them. You can also confront any misconceptions or misunderstandings that they may have about the content that you have given them to read. And then also helps assist with grading. Some faculty members use the questions as ways to give points to their students. It has been helpful in increasing class attendance. Students that know that they're being evaluated using the clickers tend to attend class more. Not only because it's a way of keeping attendance, but students thrive off the ability to not come to a classroom that is just boring, that you're just sitting there reading from your PowerPoint, standing at your lectern, reading each slide. They thrive off the ability to interact, and I see that within the clinical portion. Who uses clickers? Any classroom size can use clickers, from 5 members to 200. It could be anonymous, or you can have it set where certain groups can answer. You can do all kinds of things with it to get the results that you want. All ages of preparation, whether it be an undergrad, whether it could be second degree students. It doesn't really matter. Just anybody that is able to understand the basic technology of the system. You can use it with any course, any subject, any for course formats. It just depends on how you want to teach your content and how you want to be able to quiz and test them. So there are some, I would say, some guidelines that you want to use when you are constructing questions. The main things that you want your questions to increase the interaction. You know, you can ask a lot of multiple choice questions, but you also want to be able to incite discussion. So the ability for the students to discuss among themselves, for you to lead a classroom discussion, those kind of questions are the best. You want to also be able to assess their preparation and ensure accountability with the questions. So use questions that are based off the content that you've given them to read, and also other questions that will be able to allow them to critically think. And you can also use questions to acquire more about the students' attitudes about the reading. So just make sure that the questions are, formed in a way that you can increase the interaction and also be able to get the information that you want to see if they've learned it or not. From a faculty member to another up-and-coming faculty member, I would say that if you can get with a mentor to help you with organizing your questions, or using other faculty members to help you with questions, sometimes they can help you see things that, sometimes we get so involved in our content, we are unable to look out beyond. And one main thing of educators be able to look at how it affects other parts of nursing. So just being able to get other faculty members involved is great. Also, another good thing is to have like a library of questions. Sometimes I found just being able to ask a question and then answer and bring another question to piggyback on that really allows the students to see the connections, to make the associations, and that increases the interaction. And that is very important if you want to see if they are able to critically think about the different subject matter that you'll have. I do have some effective practices for evaluation, things that you want to make sure that you use when you are using clickers as an evaluative tool. Make sure you have short slides. Don't use on your PowerPoint, have like long case scenarios with 6 or 7 different answers. Have very short questions, or questions that have the information that are not as long, and just have like maybe 4 or 5 different answer choices. Ask thought-provoking questions that will allow the students to think about the material, think about using their personal experiences, questions that will allow discussion, and then also give them enough time to answer the questions. A very important thing you want to do, even before you even prepare right after you prepare your questions, is rehearse your presentation. Students can see if you are not prepared. So come in there, have your stuff laid out, make sure that you've worked the system enough that you can work out if there are any glitches. Have your people that are on staff that can help you, a person that's experienced in that can help you work out the kinks if necessary. You want to be able to provide clear instructions for your clickers. So be sure to let the students know way in advance that sometimes you're using it as class attendance keeper, that you're using it as a way to assign grades, that if they answer certain questions you can give points. It's very important that you discuss the expectations of the clicker. Another good thing is to ask questions that focus on key points. So to make sure that if you have a certain thing, say you want to talk about infection, that the questions really, they really are focused on that content matter. Don't have a bunch of questions about this and that, or make sure that your content matter is focused. You want to include a correct answer indicator. That is also, great for the students to see whether or not they answer the question correctly. And do not overuse the system. I've been in classrooms where that's all we did, so we knew what to expect. It's a great tool to increase the interaction, but you don't want to overuse it so that the students know what to expect. You want to be able to, if you can use it in different methods in the classroom, so it's just not the repetition of answering questions. If you find a way, that is great. But try not to overuse it in every classroom. Use it as a tool and not as a crutch. One way to assess the students is to use recall questions. So basically, you've taught some content, and there'll be the ability for the student to recall the information that you've taught and back in answering the questions. Use it as qualitative feedback, to use as discussion and polling, and use it as factor clicking questions that result into final grades. There are some disadvantages. There are cost disadvantages. Sometimes universities don't want to use them because of the cost. Sometimes the classrooms will have to be rewired for them. If you can find a system that the university, if the university doesn't have and they're able to incorporate it into your course, that is great. If they have a system already available, you try to work their system, know their system, and then try to use it in your classroom. If you don't get the proper training, it really isn't going to work. So you need to know what you're doing so that you can be able to teach the students. It can also encourage false participation. So sometimes students have been known to take their classmates' clicker to class. So it's very important that you find different ways to make sure that the attendance, that you're keeping attendance, number one, but number two, that there aren't any false participation. And be also aware of the ways that you can help the system if it malfunctions. Basically, it's a great system. If you find ways to put it in your classroom, to use it, it'll be great. Like I said, I have used it in different forms with my students, and they appreciate it. They really enjoy the ability to answer the question, see if they're getting it right, and in the midst of it, if they answer the question wrong, I'm able to stop the question, find out what misconception, what misunderstanding they have about the question, being able to weed out the bad information, and then come up with the new information and help them apply and help them critical think. It's a great tool. If you can use it, if it's in your university, it's great. It's a wonderful apparatus. I hope this is helpful to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.